Okay. In the name of Allah, who is the most merciful and beneficent, Assalamu alaikum. Myself, Soha Salim, and I'm from the Biotechnology Department, and I'm studying organic chemistry from Dr. Hammad Majeed. So today, my topic of presentation is related to forensic science. Here is the contents. First one is fingerprints. The second one is mobile SIM. Third one is cybercrime part one, how to download deleted pics. And the second part of cybercrime is how to recover hacked email, WhatsApp, and DNA testing. So first, I'll tell you fingerprint. Fingerprint is basically a unique identification technology and was first created by Dr. Henry Fuld, a British surgeon in 1882. So there is fingerprint patterns. There are three types or patterns of fingerprints: arch, loop, roll. Before telling you further, now interesting thing is that all you are thinking, or maybe a lot of questions arise in your mind, that why I choose this forensic topic in organic chemistry. So basically chemistry is in everything. In fingerprinting, chemistry is also involved. Now you guys think how. Fingerprint in chemistry is used in spectroscopic identification of organic compounds. IR spectra is called fingerprint region because the absorption pattern is highly complex but unique to each organic structure. The stretching vibration for both the carbon-carbon and carbon-oxygen double bonds are easily identified at 6.1 and 5.8 micrometer respectively. I didn't mention these things here because this is a general talk between you and me. So now I will further explain you about patterns. First one is arch. Arch, the region enter from one side of the finger, rise in the center forming an arc, and then exit other side of the finger. The second one is loop. The ridges enter from one side of finger, form a curve, and then exit on that same side. And the third is roll. Ridges form circularly around a central point on the finger. And on the human population, loop found about 60 to 65% in human population, and roll about 30%, and arch about 5%. Fingerprints, okay, now the interesting thing I will tell you. Fingerprint is to help investigator link one crime scene to another involving the same crime scene to another. And identification also help investigators to track criminals' record, their previous arrest and convictions to aid in sentencing, probation, parole, and periodic decisions. Fingerprints, furrows, and ridges present on your fingers, toes, and palms create a unique pattern. And the interesting thing is that no two people have exactly the same fingerprints. Even identical twins with identical DNA have different fingerprints. These uniqueness allow fingerprints to be used in all sort of ways, including for background checks, biometric security, mass disaster identification, and of course, in criminal situations. As I'll tell you, loops, rolls, and arches. Here, I'll read in detail about loops and arches and rolls. Loops is pattern recovers on itself and form a loop shape. This can be further divided into radial loop that points towards the thumb, or ulnar loop that points towards the ulnar bone. Rolls. These are the circular pattern similar to whirlpools. They can be plain or concentric rolls, a central pocket loop that is a loop with roll at one end, and a double loop or extended loop that carries an irregular shape. Arches. These patterns form 5% of fingerprint, and these are wave-like and consist of plain arches and bent arches that rise to a sharper point compared to plain arches. Next is the fingerprints analyst uses specific points on the ridges to identify and compare similar points on an unknown fingerprint. If a significant number of points correlate between the two fingerprints, then they are said to be one of the same person. So here, chemically used of fingerprint in which chemistry is involved. There are two methods that we are going to talk about, and they are patent prints, and second one is latent prints. They are collected using the standard manner of photography. The prints are photographed in high resolution using a forensic measurement scale, and the quality of image can also be further improved using low light or alternative light sources, chemical dyes, etc. These are the pictures of chemical dyes and printing. Latent printers are collectively, dusting a smooth surface of with fingerprint powder such as black granule, aluminium flake, and black magnetic. On dusting the powder, if prints emerge, they are then photographed using a camera lifted from the surface using a adhesive tape. The tape can then be kept on a talent lift card to preserve it. Alternative light sources. Investigators are beginning to use an alternate light source for examining surface such as doors, doorknobs, windows, etc. Cyanocrylate. Cyanocrylate or super glue is often used on a surface before the application of powders or dye stain. The chemical developer porous surface can be probed with chemicals such as ninhydrin and physical developers that can reveal latent fingerprints. The chemical can react with constituents of the fingerprints residues and turns it into a purple color, rendering them visible. So these are the image processing of fingerprinting. Next, I will tell you the advantage, as everything has advantage of and disadvantage as well. A fingerprint, the advantage of fingerprint with high accuracy, and the fingerprint is the most economical biometric PC user authentication of technique. Easy to use, small storage space required for the biometric template, reducing the size of the database memory required. It is standardized. And the second thing is disadvantage of the fingerprint. For some people, it is a very impressive because it is still related to criminal identification. It can make mistake with the dryness or dirty of the finger skin, as well as with the age is not appropriate with the children. Next topic is data recovery. So data recovery is a powerful concept within digital forensics. It is a process of retrieving deleted data from our SD card when it cannot be accessed normally. Thus, in most criminal cases, deleted data could be crucial because it may contain information the user wanted to erase from their Android device. So here's the pictures of data recovery. Technical aspects of recovery from mobile devices like tablet, tear down, logical recovery, physical recovery, challenges in the clean room encryptions. So logically recovery for mobile devices, the user had made recordings of various business meetings. He then updated the sound recording app and ignored a warning to back up existing recording first. So physical recovery from mobile devices also involved the phone was dropped in a toilet where it will lay or several weeks while the owner was on holidays. So these are pro tips for data recovery. Turn off the device immediately. Use caution when using manufacturer or third-party software. Avoid auto repair. Utilize to fix data loss issues. So these three tips are not, correct. And next is mobile SIM data recovery in detail. Forensic data recovery is the extraction of data from damaged evidence sources is in a forensically sound manner. This method of recovering data means that any evidence resulting from it can later be deleted in a court of law. According to researchers at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, damaged mobile phones are still filled with plenty of useful data, which can be extracted. NIST published the results of a recent study on forensic methods for getting data from mobile damaged phone mobiles. The researcher added data and deleted it so they could test whether the tools could extract both active and deleted data. Next is GTAG stands for Joint Task Action Groups. The forensic technique advantage of the tab, short for test access ports, which are used by manufacturers to test their circuit boards. And chip-off method. What is chip-off method? An older version of the chip-off method involved expert gently pulling the chips off a PCB, but these risk damaging the tiny pins, which made it impossible to get data. For the newer chip-off technique, a forensic expert grind down the PCB to the pins underneath the chip and then put the chip in a reader. It gives us more data than compared to a logical file extraction software. So the study focused on the forensics tools that are used to extract data, but it didn't focus on how to get past encrypted data. However, the researchers note that the law enforcement agent during the investigation. Cybercrime. The third part and the first, part of cybercrime is how to download deleted pics. It involves these are some pictures. Cybercrime in a mobile, forensic investigation take place when data on the phone is crucial to a case. Even a simple piece of information like single text message could help investigators solve a case. Other times, it's a more complicated pictures painted by deleted call logs, timestamps, geolocations, data app, and usage. Now, the question is how the police recover data, deleted data. When you in truth, when you delete something from phone, it doesn't vanish instantly. The flash memory in mobile devices doesn't delete files until it needs to open up space for something new. It merely denies its essential for getting where it is. So cybercrime, other times, it's a more complicated picture painted by, as I will tell you, by deleted call logs, timestamps, and geological data. Next one is further detail is, so the next question is what kind of information can be recorded from the mobile? Well, they are text messages, call history, email, notes, contacts, calendar events, image and videos. DNA test. DNA test is beyond routine. DNA testing to determine someone's sex or relatives. More novel DNA methods are showing promise for piecing together an image of a missing person. Scientists can now with some certainty use a strand of DNA to identify an individual's likely hair and eye color, as well as skin pigmentation and ancestry. DNA, much of the ancestry work is being done by Yale University genetics Kenneth Kidd, who has developed a panel of 55 ancestry information single nucleotide polymorphisms, AISNPs, which divide people into 8 geographical regions, such as Europe, East Asia, and the Pacific. So DNA test is basically a bone from a bone fragment found in a vitamin, for examples, can be screened against the AISNP panel to determine if the person was East Asia or North America. If that person was American or African, however, the results would come back as Ethiopian because that is a mix of European and African genes. At a research lab at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indian police genetic Susan Walsh is working to refine DNA phenotyping to predict quantitative color or precise color of eyes, hair, and skin. Spread noticed that genetics is only part of determine that appearance of human face. Environment and chance play big roles, he said. And however, the progressively smaller role the genes play, then the less you are going to be able to ever theoretically put everything together to make a photograph of what a person looks like. Next is prenatal paternity test. So what is prenatal test? Is basically, you can say that it's a DNA paternity test produce a conclusive results with 0% probability of paternity if the alleged father is not biological related to the child or with father is the biological father of the tested child. DNA paternity test determines the biological father-child relationship between a man and a child. Every individual's DNA or genetic fingerprint is unique except for identical twins. The DNA paternity test compares the DNA fingerprints between the tested man and child to determine if the child inherited half of his or her DNA from the alleged father. Mother's participation is optional, although her participation helps to exclude half of the child's DNA fingerprints inherited from her, making the data analysis easier. Maternity DNA test involves application for maternity DNA test, immigration of a DNA test, and adoption, surrogacy, grandparentage DNA test. It is basically a test determines if an individual or a couple and a child are biological related as a grandparent and grandchild. It is often used to determine paternity indirectly in cases where the alleged father is deceased or available for testing. The next one is siblingship DNA test. In the siblingship DNA test, two identical individuals are tested to determine whether they share one or both their biological parents. Full siblings share both of their biological parents, and half siblings share one of their biological parents. Next one is twin DNA test. The twin DNA test is used to determine if twins are identical or fraternal. Every person's DNA is unique except for the identical twins. If the twins share the exact same DNA profiles, they're identical. If they don't share the exact same DNA profiles, they're fraternal. Simple as that. And the genetic reconstruction of DNA test in a detailed form, I'll explain you. Genetic reconstruction DNA test is basically a genetic family reconstruction DNA test maternal relatives when the alleged parent is deceased or unavailable for testing. It is typically used as an indirect way to determine paternity or maternity. So what is the link in forensic DNA test? The forensic DNA testing technology has been applied to identify suspects and victims in violent crimes and discover identities of victims of natural or plotted disaster. DNA typing and banking involved service provides individuals and their DNA profile and preserve their DNA specimen for future genetic tested when needed. DNA test result interpretation. It is routinely test 16 genetic between sizes and of these markers between alleged father and a child. Each DNA markers contain two alleles, one inherited from the biological mother and the other from the biological father. The DNA test finds out whether there is at least one match out of the two alleles on the same marker for the alleged parents and child's DNA. So next is the last one is DNA test results interpretation in a detailed form. The CPI is then converted into a probability of paternity, showing the degree of retardedness between the alleged father and child. So that's all about my side. Thank you for your listening. Allah Hafiz.